has been rolled out at Shannon. The President of Germany is departing after a state visit, and the airport is pulling out all the stops. Director of Operations Niall Maloney and his team are running the show.
We're just waiting the President of Germany to come in. He's been doing a tour of Galway.
To the longest runway in Ireland and the world's first duty-free.
This is great. This is what it's all about.
But recent years have been tough, with a huge decline in passenger numbers. Now Shannon's fighting back, with a new boss and new ideas.
I think ideas are important. You need to do things differently and you need to do different things.
But it won't be easy, as the staff take on the challenges of reviving Shannon's fortunes while dealing with the day-to-day demands of an international airport.
So I'm the housekeeper. I mind the fort. I do what needs to be done.
Coming up, traffic troubles.
Like they need to get more vigorous and aggressive because, I mean, otherwise we'll replace them with traffic cones. Yeah.
A rookie stunt pilot gets his wings.
The day is finally here now and I just want to go and do it, you know? I'm not going to look back.
As Shannon Airport hosts a massive air display. The red carpet has been rolled out at Shannon. The President of Germany is departing after a state visit, and the airport is pulling out all the stops. Director of Operations Niall Maloney and his team are running the show.
We're just waiting the President of Germany to come in. He's been doing a tour of Galway and West Clare. So lovely sunny evening like this, great way to show off Ireland. I suppose now we need to show off Shannon Airport and make sure that his final few moments in Ireland are a success.
While Shannon prepares to wave off the ambassador, Niall's thoughts are already turning to an even bigger event. Shannon's executive board have decided the airport will host a spectacular air display to celebrate 70 years of commercial transatlantic flights. In 3 days' time, the airfield will welcome around 30,000 spectators, and it's down to Niall to make sure it all goes to plan.
We have a big week here coming. Not only have this state departure here, but we have an air show. I'm not nervous as such. I'm long in the tooth to know not all plans work out. But to be fair, it's not just myself. I have a fantastic team here at the airport. Everyone knows what they have to do. We'll make sure it works on Saturday.
But first, back to the job at hand, getting the German president safely on his way.
All the parties now need to just get off the apron. Back to what's going to happen this weekend, the air show.
Normally, airfields are designed to keep people out. But for the air show, Shannon intends to let the spectators in. And with passenger flights operating as normal, Ireland's longest runway will need to be fenced off. It's a job for Operative Supervisor Tommy Nagel.
How much fencing is in it, Andrew, in terms of miles or kilometres?
About 6 kilometres.
Oh, 6 kilometres, yeah. It's a lot of fencing.
It's a lot of fencing.
The plan is to try and get up all the high level fencing, and then maybe the lower level fencing tomorrow. Any piece that's left will just join the dots when the taxiways are closed to taxiing aircraft from 12:30 or 1 o'clock on Friday.
With 6 kilometres of fence to erect, while the airport is fully operational, the team will need to work quickly and carefully. And in no time at all, Tommy's crew are completing the job.
Have a go, man. You're busy. You are busy. Fence has been erected. Ground Echo 3-4 reporting clear in gas section 28. All we're waiting for is for the public to come in on Saturday.
And Ireland's longest runway is now surrounded by perhaps Ireland's longest temporary fence. It's not just the airport that's readying itself for the weekend. Down the road in British, Limerick native Jerry Humphries is making his own preparations for the air show in the unlikely surroundings of his beef farm.
I'm a farmer. I live here on a farm in East County Limerick, and I turn grass into organic beef.
As well as being a farmer, Jerry also happens to be one of Ireland's leading stunt pilots.
I've got an airstrip on the farm, and I've got an airplane that I built and painted it like a freezing cow. I've spent 10,000 hours of my life in the air, which I think I haven't worked it out in days and months, but I think it's quite a significant time in my life I've spent in the air.
A former RAF pilot and veteran of hundreds of air shows, Jerry is putting the final touches to his routine for the display at Shannon.
I do aerobatic displays, although it might look like airborne hooliganism. It's actually very structured and very, very carefully choreographed. But from a pure sport point of view, aerobatics is fun. It's a great way of having fun in an airplane, really. Yeah.
But Jerry isn't Ireland's only flying farmer. His son Harry recently became a commercial pilot at the tender age of 21.
This is Harry's first year display flying. I believe he's one of the first ever 21-year-olds to get an aerobatic display permit or license in Ireland. His first public display this weekend at Shannon. We're looking forward to that. And I'll obviously monitor and make sure everything's all right.
For his first air show, Harry will be flying a rather unique plane.
This is an MAI 89. This is a Russian-built aircraft. It'll do a lot of cool tight turns, steep stuff, high angle of bank, and it'll climb very quickly. If you end up with 20-25 miles an hour of wind in the face, which is not unheard of in Ireland, you've almost halved your speed, and you end up watching cars driving past you on motorways, and you get slowed right down. So you get a lot of time to practice in the airplane when you're trying to get somewhere. I'm excited, I am, big time, yeah, to go and display somewhere like Shannon for my first display is an honour now. If I can open up the show, I'd be pretty happy with that, alright.
Following a few pointers from Dad, Harry takes off on his final test flight.
I now know what his mum's been feeling like for the last 30 years, because whenever he goes flying, even though I know that he's safer in an airplane than he is in a motor car, you never really stop being concerned. I would say not being worried, but always being concerned that things are right, that things aren't going to go wrong, or that he'll be able to cope with the unexpected, which I'm sure he will do. He's got good hands.
Back in Shannon, inside the terminal, Aer Lingus check-in is flat out, dealing with a busy summer schedule. But one passenger heading to Boston has just gotten a nasty surprise. Arthur Wall hasn't filled in his electronic system for travel authorization, or ESTA for short. And without that, he's going nowhere. Thankfully for Arthur, Aer Lingus manager Sandra Marsh has seen it all before.
Is your travel to the United States occurring in transit to another country? No. Well, on a daily basis, you could have several people who arrive and don't have their documentation in order. People who haven't applied for ESTA in advance, and unfortunately, on those occasions, we have to refer them and help them because they can't get a boarding card without the advance approval.
With the clock ticking, Arthur needs to get his act together fast, but he isn't really helping matters.
Okay.
St. Louis,
Is that all you have?
Missouri.
You don't have to the zip or anything like that?
I'm trying to remember it now.
You're going to need it? Have you it written down anywhere? You need extra information for ESTA these days. You need the point of contact in the United States, a specific address and the phone number of the person that you're visiting. And he didn't have that available, so he had to make a call and get it.
With the Boston flight ready to board, things need to improve.
But there's no point putting in an Irish phone number.
Okay.
So let's put in a US phone number.
Okay.
All right.
No, you're alright. What's the zip code?
It complicates the check-in process, and check-in needs to flow because people don't like standing too long or waiting too long. So some things like this hold up the whole flow of check-in. So for that reason, it's disruptive. But everybody's got to go on the day, and you do your best to get them on their way.
However, with the systems prone to the odd glitch, Arthur's situation could get worse.
Sometimes if you actually apply for it late, it can be a problem. Sometimes the website is down or it's being maintained.
But for Arthur, today is his lucky day.
There you go. So that's your approval.
Right, thank you very
You're
much.
more than welcome. So have a good time.
I'm sorry, best.
Enjoy your summer off.
I will.
Cheers. Bye.
Good luck. I think I'm alright. I left at 6 o'clock this morning, so I usually get myself in these situations, so leave plenty of time.
A major air show in addition to a normal flight schedule, means the security services are faced with a huge challenge. Officer James Makyo is finishing an airfield patrol when he receives a call about 2 potential intruders.
Okay, just come outside and I'll meet you outside, okay? Whereabouts?
The wind.
Are they gone?
Yeah, well, they headed that direction, but on the road, yeah, just to see how they're there.
Okay.
This time, the intruders in question are of the furry 4-legged variety.
Hi guys, do you see any dogs?
Went across the field over there. See there's a gap in the field over there on the far side. A black and a brown dog.
Alright, okay.
Over there. Went over there through that gap.
Okay, we'll check it out. Thanks. Loose dogs present the possibility of going in around the airfield. The problems with that are obvious in that an aircraft can suck them into the engine and it can cause all kinds of chaos.
1-5, right, that's understood.
Here we are.
You for the right down.
Controls base 2 cancelled that. Those dogs are at the gantry. If you come down here. We'll try and coax them out. You know, they probably belong to somebody here at the somebody who lives in these flats here. So they look like they're making their way home. So.
However, the suspects seem intent on evading capture, and James is struggling on his own.
Come.
Thankfully, backup swiftly arrives.
We're trying to get down towards the gate here.
And with a little gentle coaxing, the dogs are apprehended.
That's it. That was really nice. Come on. We can't beat the farmers, huh? All is well that ends well.
With the dogs gone and the perimeter secure, it's back to the main event. It's the night before the air display, and Niall is making his final checks to ensure that everything is in place. But there's one thing he can't control: the weather.
It's just a passing shower, but it's... the weather this summer has just been actually chronic. Good for our business, mind, because if people don't like the weather in Ireland, they head off in a plane.
The airfield has been transformed, including an exclusive seated enclosure for VIPs.
So what we've created is an event site that's removed from the main airport. We have a 400-seater stand brought in for the occasion. Let's hope the weather's a bit kinder than it is this evening.
But with dark clouds gathering and no roof, there could be a problem.
I'm here actually at the stand for the VIPs, and they won't be able to sit down unless the seats are dry. Would you see if we can borrow a couple of towels and least to have them? Yeah.
If the heavens opened, a few soggy bottoms in the VIP stand could be the least of his worries.
Get out of here, get into the cot for a couple of hours. It won't be long before we're back here at first light. And get ready for what it really is a big day for us. By this time tomorrow night, let's hope it's sweet dreams rather than, what might have been.
It's early morning on the day of Shannon's big air show. A crowd of about 30,000 people is expected, and Director of Operations Niall Maloney is the man in charge of it all.
No sleep. I got home late, and I do find, when you've a lot on your mind and your body's resting, the mind keeps going. Some might have stayed up the whole time, but then a few shots of coffee won't sort out during the day.
Niall might be feeling the effects of a restless night, but for now, at least one thing's on his side.
The weather's been kind enough to us this stage, but the weather forecast isn't great, so let's hope it does stay off for as long as possible.
Today, Niall will have to oversee the whole airfield, so to get around, he's been given his own special transport in the form of an electric van. That's if he can figure out how to start it.
Driving lesson, electric vehicle.
Just put it into D for drive.
Down here, I didn't light up, is it?
No, I did not.
I want to hand down the handbrake on?
Yeah. Well, no, you're off now first of all, so what you got to do is, it's on the ignition, right? And handbrake on. And now you got to go right, so now you take off the handbrake and just put it into drive and off you go.
Remember this, right? Yeah.
With the wheels in motion, Niall sets off on his rounds and immediately runs into his first problem of the day. Security at the event is so tight, his army of volunteers are unable to enter the site.
Our volunteers are here, but they weren't being let in. So, just getting them released to get them to the airfield. Can't start without them, so I'm sorry for delaying you folks. Good day morning to y'all. Y'all brought the sun?
With his people in place, Niall can give the go-ahead to open the gates, and with thousands of spectators already queuing at the entrance, Officer James Makyo is on hand to make sure everyone gets in.
They're about to, the event company are about to let in the members of the public now. As you can see, they've been queuing for even 2 hours, so they're very enthusiastic.
The gates open, and in come the crowd. But it's not long before James realises that the event is proving more popular than expected, and the traffic is already backing up. As things worsen, James's boss, head of security, John Francis, shows up to assess the situation.
They need to get more vigorous and aggressive because, otherwise we're replacing the traffic cones.
Yeah. The event has attracted huge interest, and we have quite a larger volume of pedestrian traffic that we weren't anticipating.
Get aggressive with the arms.
We need to ensure that the volume of traffic doesn't back up down to the motorway and cause serious issues.
Keep going!
While it might look a little bit aggressive, it really is a customer service initiative for everyone, so that everyone gets to the event on time and that they can enjoy it, and that's what we want.
Right. Round to your left there, keep going.
A few old-school hand signals and words of encouragement help.
Come on, keep going.
But James decides to put Plan B into action.
Traffic is backed up way out the road towards the motorway, so we're introducing another gate to allow people in to the event.
And with another entrance open, the crowds can flock in. In the terminal, it's also a very busy morning, and with more people comes an increased chance of an accident. Officer Anthony Toohey has been called to an incident. A young boy has been injured near departures, and with an awaiting flight, Anthony needs to get there fast.
As an officer, I'll just go up and oversee it. Just see if there's any further medical assistance required, like a doctor, or do we need to call an ambulance?
7-year-old Simon Poland has taken a fall and has a deep cut on his chin.
He was just standing with his hands in his pocket, and he just tried to walk and tripped it. Easy as that. With hands in the pocket, so he couldn't save himself.
We're just making a phone call at the moment to the local doctor just to see if we can organise to get it stitched or glued. Just to kind of, but it has been looked at, it has been sterilised, and the bleeding has stopped for now.
Officer Toohey is concerned that if Simon doesn't get quick treatment, he'll miss his flight.
I'd give him a ring again because it's not something you really want to delay with too long. They have to make a flight. I'd say that possibly may not happen with the time frame involved. I can ring a doctor for you, a doctor up here if you want, right? Or I can organise an ambulance to take him into the regional if you want, right? It will need attention and it will need to be cleaned out.
While Mum Joanne tries to speed everything up, a timely word with her friend makes the situation a lot easier for Anthony.
But only I go.
Only you're flying? Oh, he's not flying?
Yeah.
Right, okay. Yeah, no.
With no flight to catch for young Simon, it's a change of plan.
What they're hoping to do at the moment is just kind of go into A&E inside in Limerick University Hospital in Limerick. So it's the fastest option to get it seen to. Big lollipop on the way home, I think. Definitely, you know. Definitely.
I only come to visit, and this is goodbye present.
Not quite the send-off they imagined, so after a hug and a kiss, Simon's off to the dock.
See you later, Simon.
At the airshow, Niall is still busy dealing with problems. He's been called to help another young man in a spot of bother, a wheelchair user who's been directed to the wrong entrance.
There's a young gentleman here who's in a wheelchair with a broken leg. Can I send them back that way if you don't mind? And I'll give you my own card. If you have any issues at all, I'm the operations director for the airport. Alright? It's just someone not using the law of common sense. You know, you don't necessarily have to have a wheelchair sticker. I mean, if the lad has a young broken leg, you know, what's he going to do? Did he put a cast on just for the day?
With pilots and spectators ready for the off, and the VIPs settled into their nice dry seats, the show can finally begin with the Black Knight parachute team. Just off the main airfield, father and son Jerry and Harry Humphries are doing their final preparations. With only a few minutes to go, Harry is double and triple checking everything.
We want to make sure radios and aerials and everything and so on and so forth are okay, because communications here in Shannon are fairly important, and to have a radio failure or something like that in Shannon could be quite embarrassing, whereas at home where I live on the farm, a radio failure doesn't mean much, so just want to make sure that everything is ready to go for the bright lights.
With the honour of being the first stunt plane in the air, Harry can't wait to take off.
I've just been waiting for the day for so long now, being at these shows, hoping that someday it'll be me, that the day is finally here now and I just want to go and do it, you know? That's it, and I don't have to look back.
And with that, Harry Humphries becomes Ireland's newest stunt pilot. Followed closely by his dad Jerry in the Flying Cow, whose crowd-pleasing stunts managed to halt Niall Maloney in his tracks.
Oh, you need to turn around and look at that. Don't mind looking at me. Brilliant, brilliant.
Niall has been non-stop since the crack of dawn, performing his official chores. But there's one request that he's more than happy to help with. Airplane superfan Stephen Riley from Galway is here with his family, and he's loving the airshow spectacle. Diagnosed with bone cancer in 2006, his treatment resulted in the amputation of his right leg from the knee down.
Shall we try it on?
Today, Niall has invited Stephen to get up close and personal to some of the airplanes. And, as an extra special treat, he's arranged for Stephen and his family to get a unique bird's-eye view of the airshow.
The most enjoyable part was to see the smile on Stephen's face. 'Cause a couple of years ago, we didn't think he was going to be here today, like, so it was fantastic, like, you know, that he's here and that he had the experiences, like.
Very special guest, very special day. We got an email during the week from his mother Nora. Said, look, could we do something special for him? One phone call, hey presto, helicopters made available. And yeah, I think he's had a very enjoyable experience with all the activities that were on the airfield today.
One very happy boy, and over 30,000 satisfied spectators. In fact, the air show has been a roaring success.
A few issues, too small things, few loose dogs and stuff like that, but nothing we couldn't handle.
And though it threatened all day, the weather has also given its full support.
A good day, the winds are perfect and the crowds are great, everything was perfect. The rain stayed off, which is the most important part of it. And perfect conditions for a perfect day. It went really, really well.
Niall can finally begin to relax and enjoy the final few flybys of the day.
We're trending on Twitter. There's 172,000 tweets have been tweeted about the Shannon Air Shows today. So if we measure it that way, that's a success.
Time to soak up the atmosphere and take a well-earned break in his very own VIP stand.
There wouldn't be enough superlatives to say how it's gone. I think over 40,000 people, which is bigger than anticipated crowd, had a thoroughly enjoyable day. Everyone really with the shoulder to the wheel. But everyone's going to go home now for their tea. They'll have a lot more work to do. There's a fair big tidy up to do here before we can turn the airport back to its normal operation for Sunday morning. Am I tired? Absolutely. But I'm very proud.